This title right here, oh, it takes me to a place. Like, I've had this fear. So listen, the title is Unbelievable Pets That Ate Their Owners Right in Front of Everyone, right? Now, I've always never did like snakes, right? So anytime somebody tells me like, oh, they have a pet snake, I automatically think like, you think you got a pet snake, but the first opportunity that Python get to lay beside you and start sizing you up, oh, he gonna take his opportunity. He gonna try to eat you. I've always had that thought about snakes, man, and you hear the stories about them laying next to their owner and everything, and then the owner goes missing all of a sudden and the snake has done devoured them. Yeah, that's what this, yeah. That fear was unlocked in me as a kid, and it never went away. Some of y'all can agree and identify. But let's check this video out.
As long as he's breathing. He's not breathing anymore. He's not breathing anymore? No.
Ron Huff shared a tiny apartment with 6 large, dangerous monitor lizards.
When they finally were able to get into the apartment, they discovered Mr. Huff's body.
After being attacked by a lion, the ordeal was captured on camera.
Father's been killed and his wife is fighting for life.
Well,
What'd that take y'all back to? Remember when it first came out? You might have been young. You may be too young to even remember this. But when animals attack, remember that came to, was it video or was it DVD or something like that? It might have been VHS. It might be that old when Animals Attack started coming out. Took the world by storm.
King of the Enclosure. A shocking incident took place at Markali Animal Sanctuary in South Africa. When a British wildlife park owner, Mike Hodge, entered a lion's enclosure, Hodge went inside because he was concerned about a smell bothering the lion. He cared for it because Mike had looked after the lion since it was a cub. While he was inside, another park keeper used a small bucket to coax the lion away. But the situation escalated. The lion did not take the bait and turned its direction towards Mike. Now he was face to face with the male lion and realized just how dire the situation was.
After being attacked by a lion, the ordeal was captured on camera.
Mike tried to exit the enclosure, but was a bit too late. Onlookers managed to capture the exact moment the lion turned on Mike. Authorities were contacted immediately, and the rangers managed to get Mike out of the enclosure. He was then airlifted to a nearby hospital and amazingly made a full recovery. Scarface.
These are wild animals, man. What do you think? What do you think? These are wild animals. They have innate instinct to, like, they're gonna turn on you, bro. It's just in their instincts to do so. You look like food to them. They gonna eat.
Meet Scarface, the Pitbull with a name that strikes fear and a story that's even more chilling. Rescued by Brenda and Ismael Guerrero, Scarface already had a known history of instability. He found refuge in the Guerrero household despite warnings from pet shelters. Initially, life with the dog was going smoothly for the Guerreros with only minor issues. However, one day, they decided to dress up the pit bull in a sweater, which led to a horrifying escalation. When Brenda attempted to outfit him, Scarface got really annoyed. It went after her while her husband tried to intervene, but he too fell victim to the pit bull's rage.
Was trying to put a sweater onto a pit bull mix. When she was out there, the dog attacked her.
Terrified neighbors called the police, who faced their own challenges in getting a hold of the dog. But luckily, they managed to subdue Scarface safely. Fortunately, the Guerreros survived the harrowing incident and learned not to upset a nervous animal. Rise of the Apes. An incident unfolded in a coconut grove in Malaysia when a pet monkey turned against its owners. Nigya Mohammed, 72, and his son, 29, were rushed to the hospital after the incident. But what exactly took place? Mohammed was trying to engage the monkey in fetching coconuts from a tree, but it went sideways when the agitated monkey tackled him. His son found out about it only because he was concerned about the unusual silence. After investigating, he found his father unconscious and unaware of the monkey's involvement. As he approached to help his father, the monkey lunged at him too, which made the 29-year-old scream. The scream proved to be a blessing in disguise as it alerted the neighbors. The Department of Wildlife and National Parks managed to safely capture the monkey, but they were too late to save Nigya Mohammed. But his son made a full recovery. Most
And they wonder why when I go out of the country or go out of town or something like that, and people have these pet monkeys, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. And they're like, nah, he won't hurt you. How you know? Huh? You speak monkey? Huh? He told you that this morning when he was speaking monkey to you? That I'm not gonna hurt nobody today? I don't think he did.
dangerous bird. The cassowary is renowned as one of the world's most dangerous birds, if not the most dangerous. It has a formidable combination of fearlessness, aggression, and razor-sharp talons. But despite all of this, a 75-year-old Texan named Marvin Hajos decided to breed cassowaries on his farm. A bold choice, but a bad one. Although he was a licensed breeder, experienced in handling diverse and exotic animals, including emus, ostriches, and other Australian birds, he could not control the wild instincts of the cassowary. One day, Hajos met an untimely demise when he accidentally tripped and set off the bird's predatory instincts. The bird leaped at him, leading to an unfortunate outcome. His family witnessed the entire incident unfold and quickly dialed emergency services. But by the time help arrived, Hajos had succumbed.
Never seen an incident uniquely like this. First and foremost, it's an absolutely unfortunate outcome for this man and his family.
Professional rescuers face challenges in separating the cassowary, which shows how perilous these intimidating birds are. A deer situation. In a heart-wrenching incident near Wangaratta, tragedy struck the McDonald family. The cause? A wapiti. When 47-year-old Paul McDonald was going to feed the animal, it turned on him. Deer was no longer a herbivore.
Paul McDonald was attempting to feed the animal when it struck.
In a courageous effort to rescue her husband, Mandy McDonald intervened. The couple's teenage son showed remarkable bravery. Using a lump of wood to fend off the deer, medical personnel were called on site and they tried their level best to save them. Paul had already passed away, but his wife was airlifted to the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne, where she recovered. The family had cared for the stag for 6 years, and it was the sole deer on the property, which also housed a small number of sheep.
Soul deer or not, I live in the South. You know what they do to deer down here, bro? Yeah, he'd have been on somebody's dinner table. That's a fact. He'd have been on somebody. They'd have had backstrap, they'd have had deer sausage, they'd have had deer cube steak, they'd have had all kind of different deer meats filled their freezer up, bro. I live in the South. He wouldn't have did that down here, man. You know? like fam, like he'd have did that to somebody down here, he'd have been across their dinner table, I'm telling you.
Wildebeest. Claus Dick Randant, a 64-year-old resident of North Liberty, Indiana, met his end at the hands, or rather hooves, of his 500-pound pet wildebeest. Believe it or not, it actually happened in his own backyard, within the fence he made for his exotic pets. The wildebeest, known as New, was unusually unpredictable that day. It knocked off a pin gate and used its head to ram Randant. This ordeal went on for a couple of minutes as he laid on the dirt defenseless. The scene was actually discovered by Randant's wife, Tara Lynn, who was worried when he failed to return for lunch. She called the paramedics, who couldn't revive him. Then the police got involved and they tried to piece together the details. According to them, the wildebeest might have been protecting its mate. It was mating season and animals tend to be overly protective during that time. A monitored situation. Ronald Huff was once a proud owner of 7 Nile monitor lizards, and these lizards have a potent venom.
Ron Huff shared a tiny apartment with 6 large, dangerous monitor lizards.
Although nothing for humans to worry about, at least that's what he thought. His family and friends told him to get rid of them, but he didn't listen. A decision he would soon come to regret. One day they noticed that Ronald had been gone for way too long. Getting worried, they called the sheriff for a checkup.
We received a call to check on the welfare of Ronald Huff.
When the police tried to get into his place, they hit a roadblock.
They knocked on the door. Unfortunately, there was no answer.
Some heavy thing was blocking the door. They were finally able to bust in, and what they found was straight out of a horror movie.
The police pushed the door open and screamed, "Get back," as loud as they could.
He had been propped up against the door, and all his monitor lizards were on top of him.
When they finally were able to get into the apartment, they discovered Mr. Huff's body.
Turns out those lizard bites paralyzed him. Just goes to show that even if you're into reptiles, sometimes they can turn on you. a croc-ictionary tale.
And see, the fact that it says sometimes they can turn on you, that sometime for me is like any time or any given moment. So for that reason, just like Shark Tank, I'm out.
DC-20, a 44-year-old Indonesian scientist, met an unfortunate fate at her research facility where she was illegally keeping crocodiles. Despite the authorities' prohibition, Tuo had been feeding several crocodiles, including Mary, a colossal 1,500-pound reptile. In 2019, Tuo ventured to interact with Mary, and that marked the last time she was seen alive. Her colleagues had assumed that Tuo left the facility, but a grim discovery was made the next morning. The massive crocodile had consumed Tuo, leaving behind just some remnants of the scientist. The authorities were alerted, and a challenging operation ensued to capture Mary. Investigations revealed that Tuo had fallen into the crocodile pit, where Mary seized the opportunity before she could signal for help to attract her colleagues' attention. In the aftermath, the research facility was shut down, and the animals, including Mary, were relocated to more secure sanctuaries. Mysterious demise. Alita Stacy was 56 years old when she was found in her apartment with a snake bite. Simple details sparked a debate about the nature of her fate. She kept 75 snakes, with over 2/3 of them being poisonous. It was her boyfriend, Vito Caputo, who discovered Stacy upon returning home and noticed the padlock on the Black Mamba's glass enclosure had been removed. The police ruled it out as an accidental snake bite during aquarium cleaning. But the true shock came from the friends and family who said that she was too good of a snake handler to have been this careless. They indicated that she intentionally allowed herself to be bitten. Now, all of this may sound crazy, but the fact that Stacy did not call emergency services added more credibility to their assumption. Officials then relocated all her pets to the Bronx Zoo. Sinister hijinks.
That's another thing too, man. Like, let's say you live next to somebody who has a bunch of wild animals or snakes or pets or something like that, and they get mad at you one day and they just release them out towards you. Like, we gotta stop people from having wild animals, man. For real. Like, man, you can have a neighbor, I can have a neighbor, and we not even know it until it's too late.
Rewind back to the 1970s, and James Davis and his wife LaDonna were just like any other married couple. But instead of a baby, they raised a chimp. James returned to California from a trip to South Africa with the chimp Mo, and planned to keep him for a few years. But after Mo bit a police officer in 1998 and a woman the following year, authorities took him away, and Mo ended up at the Animal Haven Ranch. The couple would regularly visit Mo, and on the 3rd of March 2005, they went to celebrate his 39th birthday. That's when it all happened. Two young chimps broke free from their cage and viciously went after the couple. This created a lot of noise, which attracted the attention of the owner's son-in-law, who quickly neutralized the situation. LaDonna escaped, but her husband had to be hospitalized for 6 months. Ming of Harlem. Antoine Yates was always a fan of big cats, which is why he kept a Siberian Bengal tiger in his 21-story high Harlem apartment building. Naturally, keeping exotic pets like that isn't permissible.
I just talked about this. I wonder how many people in that apartment building knew. You know what I mean? Maybe when it got older and they could hear the roars, they probably started suspecting something. But this is crazy, bro. You put everybody in that building at risk, at jeopardy.
By the law, which is why Yates rarely let Ming, the gorgeous tiger, out of his apartment.
My relationship with Ming was very, very unique. We had a bond that was basically unbelievable.
Of course, a big cat cooped up like that is bound to attract problems. Yates admitted himself to the ER with severe scratches. When the doctors expressed concern, he blamed them on a rogue Pitbull.
So the police came and said, "Okay, sir, what's going on?" I said, yo, he was just attacked by a dog. I'm like, oh man,
But this only tipped off the hospital. A month or two later, an anonymous tipper informed the authorities of an illegal tiger. When authorities rushed to the apartment, they faced a growling tiger. one that had to be sedated to be pulled to safety. Ming was shifted to a local sanctuary where the tiger received proper treatment and a big enough pool for it to rest in. As for Yates, he's still obsessed with big cats. A painter's pain. Imagine drawing the scene of the time one of the most ruthless predators on Earth decided to tackle you. Mark Johnson is clearly not your usual artist. The man in his 60s spent a good portion of his life studying gators and would occasionally head to the local pond to draw them. During one of his countless artistic ventures, Johnson spotted a large gator and settled down with his stationery. Unexpectedly, the gator moved forward and lunged at Johnson, who barely had time to react.
Gator, I can see his snout right here, and I'm trying to move, and that split second, both feet, and he lunged.
The gator had a strong grip on Johnson's leg, so he couldn't escape. Thankfully, Johnson remembered a neat trick he learned as a kid and poked his fingers into the gator's eyes. The gator immediately let go, and Johnson rushed himself to the hospital. But here's the craziest thing. Johnson decided to paint the scene, drawing it as is. This is one crazy man. Grizzly Man. A grizzly enthusiast, Timothy Treadwell earned his remarkable name after countless interactions with the local grizzlies at the Katmai National Park. He even appeared on a few shows, but no one knew the Grizzly Man would lose to his own name. Treadwell, along with his girlfriend, decided to visit the national park once more on a camping trip. He'd hoped to capture a few attractive pictures of the grizzly and wanted to learn more about the passionate animal. Unfortunately, things didn't go to plan. On the last day of their trip, when Treadwell and his girlfriend had already arranged to meet Willie Fulton, a taxi driver, the duo didn't show up. Fulton waited for hours and then eventually sought help, and authorities showed up to see Treadwell's camping tent in a mess. With the couple missing, realizing what might have happened, the authorities immediately started searching the grounds, only to discover Treadwell and his girlfriend had become victims to a gnarly family of grizzlies, which had consumed them. Tragically, Treadwell's demise was recorded too, but no one, not even his mother, has listened to honor his last moments.
Truly, you must never listen to this.
I know, Werner. I'm never going to.
Wild stunts. Animal trainer Stephen Miller was once one of the most popular stunt doubles and wranglers. However, his rise to fame quickly ended when he reluctantly agreed to stand alongside Rocky, a 5-year-old grizzly, for a promotional video. Assisted by his cousin and stunt double Randy Miller, Stephen stood at the side of Rocky, hoping to create an exciting stage wrestling match. However, Rocky, being a wild animal, started the staged wrestling match long before Stephen was prepared. In almost an instant, Stephen lost his ground, and a few seconds later, his life.
Okay, as long as he's breathing. He's not breathing anymore. He's not breathing anymore? No. Okay.
Countless raised their voices against the bear, demanding it to be put down.
And that's the thing, you don't know what could have triggered that bear that day. You just don't. It could have been a smell. It could have been a sound. It could have been feeling some type of way hormonally. It could have been anything, and you just don't know. That's just a chance that I don't see how that's a chance people are willing to take. You don't know what could just set that thing off.
Badly dealt hand. I don't care if you're a professional snake handler, this is not the way you treat a snake. Naturally, for this thrill seeker, holding a king cobra didn't pan out too well. Bajumi, the 60-year-old resident of Assam, India, proudly held a king cobra that had been running loose around the village and invoking its terror. While countless villagers urged Bajumi to let go of the snake, the ignorant man kept a firm grasp, even stronger than before. Of course, the cobra had been too patient by now, so it did what any other animal would do in this situation. The cobra delivered its venom. Within seconds, Bajumi had fainted and needed help. Naturally, countless villagers were afraid to intervene because of the king cobra, which was hissing at anyone daring to approach. Sadly, by the time the villagers reached Bajima, he had succumbed to the cobra's venom. Venomous affairs. You're watching who was once Malaysia's most popular snake handler, make a world record with scorpions, as if they're not one of the most terrifying creatures to exist. Ali Samsudin, also known as the snake handler, had an intense passion for anything that slithered or crawled, so he was often seen nestling in dangerous pits filled with scorpions or other creepy crawlers. He spent 21 days in a glass enclosure with 5,000 scorpions, and even 40 days with 400 snakes. However, one of his such stunts ended up becoming his last. Sam Sudden was performing stunts with cobras when one of them managed to inject its venom. At first, Sam Sudden wasn't worried because this was not his first rodeo with a snake bite. But he soon started to feel sick and his father rushed him to the hospital. Tragically, Sam Sudden didn't survive and left behind an impressionable legacy. Teen Wolf. Forget Scott McCall, this is the real Teen Wolf. In 2013, the then 16-year-old Noah Graham experienced one of the worst camping trips of his life, and simultaneously, the most memorable. Since he returned as the most popular guy in high school, Graham had gone to sleep in his zipped-up tent and woke up to a growling wolf over his head. Most of us, well, I would have screamed and probably passed out with my fate undecided. But while gripped with fear, Graham managed to reach out and pull the wolf's jaws with his bare hands.
I didn't hear the wolf coming, I didn't see it, just no sense at all that it was there until it was actually on my head.
Impressively brave man took the minute-long opportunity to run for shelter.
I thought for sure it was going to come back at me, and that's the scary part.
In a horrifying twist, the wolf followed suit. But luckily, Graham reached safety and was able to protect himself.
I'm sure I'll go camping again. I don't know about sleeping out in the open.
Graham had a cool story to
Never understood it. You can't convince me to understand it. I just don't understand it. I don't. No. It's no protection. That little flimsy little tent that you think is going to protect you, it didn't. That wolf was on him before he could wipe the crust out his eye. No.
Start his senior year. The Stampede. When you're facing an animal thrice your size and probably 10 times your weight, you back away, no matter what stands before you. But this ignorant man, eager to encounter the elephant, stepped right in front of it in an attempt to hypnotize the animal. Yes, you heard that right. The Sri Lankan man truly believed he would be able to stop the elephant on command. Of course, it's nearly impossible to stop a behemoth like that. Unless you're well familiar with animals and have been training them. Naturally, the elephant became startled and enraged and took out its anger by using its crushing weight. An elephant trainer quickly rushed to the site, but had to step back because of the enraging elephant. Once the elephant left, the man was rushed to the hospital, but tragically, the daredevil didn't survive. As upsetting as this is, it teaches us not to mess with the animal kingdom. Deadly Garland. This might be the world's most dangerous necklace. Wearing a snake, and that too a cobra around your neck, is a recipe for disaster. What you're seeing here is an Indian Bahampa, an entertainer from Rajasthan, garlanding a snake around a spectator's neck. Clearly, this Bahampa's trick is letting spectators wear the cobra as a garland and escape unscathed. Unfortunately, things didn't go to plan. When the Bahampa wrapped the cobra around one particular spectator, the snake didn't react too well and ended up administering its venom. He was quickly rushed to the hospital where he tragically passed away. Of course, the residents got a hold of the Bahampa and submitted him to the police. And here's where it got worse. India is no stranger to venomous snakes, but Bahampa claimed he didn't even know this cobra had venom. Well, he can explain this to the judge. A crushing end. Gentle giants? That's what we call elephants, but are they really? As magnificent and docile as an elephant seems, it's never a good idea to encounter an angry one, even accidentally. Joaquin Arnez was working at the Carbinco Natural Park in Spain. He was in charge of taking care of the elephants and was strongly loved by them. Arnez began his day by feeding the elephants, cleaning their enclosure, and preparing them to meet visitors who would flock in the minute park opened its gates. On February 26, 2021, Arnez began his day like usual. However, the minute he stepped into the enclosure, he found himself facing an enraged and hormonal female elephant. Despite his best efforts, Arnez couldn't placate the elephant and tragically lost his life. Once zoo employees realized what had happened, they immediately stepped inside the enclosure to investigate. They realized the elephant was pregnant and may have charged at Arnez after feeling overwhelmed. In Hospital. You would expect tragic incidents from tigers, crocs, and other wild beings. But a horse? No one, not even I, imagined it would be possible. Sadly, for Charlene Takita, one of the most imaginative scenarios became a horrifying reality. Charlene, with her husband Jerry, trained horses and were frequently seen interacting with the majestic creatures. One day, Charlene was leading her thoroughbred to the hot walker when another horse, which had been running loose in the area, unexpectedly tackled her. The sudden ambush startled the thoroughbred, which took flight, leaving Charlene to fend off the unexpected striker. Meanwhile, Jerry was working close by, but he didn't realize something was wrong until another trainer called him. Unfortunately, Charlene succumbed to the incident and passed away, even after rescue attempts. Normally, an aggressive horse would be put down, but Jerry surprisingly refused, claiming he didn't blame the horse, and neither would his wife. Pinned unwillingly. Orcas rarely target humans. Tackling us is the last thing on their minds. And yet in 2009, Alexis Martinez, an experienced trainer working at the Orca Ocean in Loro Park in the Canary Islands, became the unexpected victim of one killer whale.
Right there, stop right there. What's their name? What's their name? Killer whale. So something like this happened shouldn't shock us. I blame the Free Willy movie because it made us think that these are all just lovable creatures. They'll save our life. They'll defend us. They'll take care of us. They'll be our best friend. That movie did that to us. It did it to me. Gave me false hope about killer whales. But now that I'm older, I realize the name killer whale. It's a killer whale, bro. Like, what are we thinking?
Although Martinez had years of prior experience dealing with killer whales, he struggled to train Quito, one of the orcas at Loro Park. A few weeks before Martinez's unfortunate demise, he communicated about the difficulties of working with Quito, and the orca too seemed quite tense. After countless training sessions, the duo met once again, this time in front of a crowd, all eager to watch the infamous orca show. This is where everything took a turn. During one of their performances, the orca unexpectedly tackled Martinez, who recognized the orca's intention and tried to get another trainer to intervene. Unfortunately, by the time help arrived, Martinez had met an untimely end. The Tiger Whisperer. A name not made, but earned. Stacy Conweiser, a Floridian zookeeper, was working at the Palm Beach Zoo. Known for her amazing ability to calm any big cat, Conweiser was mainly assigned to the tiger's enclosure. One of these tigers was Haiti, a 350-pound Malayan male tiger. Although quite ferocious, Haiti typically greeted Conweiser enthusiastically, possibly because of her friendly attitude and being the only one to step inside the enclosure laden with food. This is why almost no one at the zoo can explain why Haiti lunged at Conweiser one day in 2016. The tiger had almost resorted to consuming its old trainer until luckily authorities stepped in. Unfortunately, Conweiser did not survive the tackle. However, I think you and I have a pretty good idea of what happened. Animals never let go of their wild instincts, and once they're out in the open, surviving is near impossible, even for a tiger whisperer. A howling tragedy. For most zookeepers, zoo animals are just a part of their job. But for Carolina Borden, working at the Colmorden Wildlife Park, interacting with them was a significant part of her life. And she even bottle-fed a pack of wolves. Unfortunately, the very animals she raised as her own turned on her in the worst way possible. In 2012, just an hour after the wildlife park opened its gate to welcome hundreds of tourists, Carolina ventured into the wolf's pen alone. At the time, it was customary for a minimum of 2 handlers to enter wild animal enclosures to avert danger. Yet, the wildlife park didn't emphasize such customs, which is why no one was there to assist Carolina, who was unexpectedly tackled by the entire pack. Sadly, by the time zoo employees realized something was wrong, Carolina had already passed away, Later, after nationwide protests, the zoo finally took action to enforce stronger and safe holding precautions. We've heard quite a few horror stories about handling vicious animals, and so has Doug Seuss, but despite it all, he continues hanging out with a grizzly. The 10-foot-tall Alaskan bear Bart has been living with the Seuss since 1977. And here is his owner, ironically demonstrating how to survive a bear encounter to raise awareness. Although the duo seems well connected, their close act reenacts unbelievable scenarios, including risky stunts, most of which put Doug in danger's path. Naturally, a nightmarish situation like the one we've already seen with countless victims is just a stone's throw away. For now, what seemed to be separating the duo from a harsh outcome is Bart's training, which is keeping the bear at arm's length from reacting dangerously. Doug has a strong command of Bart, and the bear understands its owner's meanings well. Although animals are unpredictable, their tendency to resort to their animalistic instincts is not. Let's hope the duo avoids any unfortunate incidents.